You. Excuses are mental landmines. Deactivate them at dawn. They don't come with warning signs. They don't flash red or scream danger. They hide in comfort. They dress themselves in logic and fatigue in phrases like, not today, maybe later, I'm just not ready yet. But they explode silently, leaving behind scattered momentum, delayed dreams, and a warped sense of self. You. The most dangerous enemy is the one you never see coming. And that's exactly what excuses are. Camouflaged, polished, justified. They don't look like failure. They look like safety. The problem isn't that you make excuses. Everyone does. The problem is that you've rehearsed them so well, they've become part of your internal operating system. You don't even realize how quickly they activate the moment your alarm rings, how swiftly they jump to your defense when discomfort approaches you. How instinctively you reach for them when effort is demanded. They live in your subconscious like programmed commands, and unless you override them at the source, they run the show. Morning is when the war begins. That first choice, get up or stay down, determines your posture for the entire day. It's not about waking up early for productivity points. It's about reclaiming your authority before the world tries to take it from you. The world is going to test you, distract you, tempt you, and even deceive you. If you haven't won the first battle with yourself, you're vulnerable to every little hit that follows. You've got to rise before your brain finds a reason not to. Because trust this, if you give it time, your brain will craft 1,000 reasons why you can't, why you shouldn't, and why later sounds better. Excuses aren't always loud. Sometimes they sound compassion. They whisper things like, you deserve rest, you've been through a lot, or you need to heal first. And sometimes that's true. But there's a fine line between recovery and retreat. There's a difference between strategic rest and emotional hiding. And deep down, when you're crossing that line. When your excuses are built on truth and when they're simply built on fear. The mind is cunning. It knows your soft spots. It knows how to speak your language. Excuses don't come to destroy. They come to persuade. They offer comfort. They seduce you with temporary peace while robbing you of long-term power. When you rise before your excuses, you send a signal to your mind, to your body, and to the universe that you're in control, that your mission isn't optional. That discipline leads, not emotion. And when you do that consistently, something shifts, your reflex changes. Instead of reaching for excuses, you start reaching for reasons to push, reasons to grow, reasons to rise. You stop negotiating with weakness. You stop taking advice from moods. You stop letting feelings make decisions that your future has to pay for. You see, the mind is like terrain. And just like a battlefield, it has traps laid all across it, old beliefs, lingering doubts, conditioned limitations. Excuses are the triggers buried beneath that surface. One misstep, I'll do it later. And boom, you're back in the loop, lost hours, lost energy, lost confidence. And the worst part, it all feels justified. That's what makes excuses deadly. They don't feel like sabotage. They feel like self-care. But there's no care in postponing your growth. There's no healing in hiding from responsibility. There's no freedom in delay. When the alarm rings, it's more than a noise. It's a call to arms. It's your opportunity to rise with clarity and intention before hesitation gains a foothold. Because once you hesitate again and again, until hesitation becomes a habit, a ritual, a routine, and your potential becomes a theory you'll never test. But if you move, if you rise before thought, before mood, before your excuses even have a chance to take the mic, you break the cycle. You become the commander of your morning. And when you win your morning, you don't just win time, you win trust. Trust in yourself, in your strength, in your will. And when you trust yourself, no excuse can survive in your presence. If you don't rise with intention, you rise with interference. The moment your eyes open, the world doesn't wait. Your mind doesn't start as a blank slate. It starts as a battlefield. Thoughts come rushing in. Some are yours, but most aren't. They're echoes from yesterday's conversations, today's looming stressors, memories, doubts, fears, digital noise, and the residue of what you didn't finish. If you don't take control of that first breath, the chaos takes it from you. You're either commanding your mindset at sunrise or surrendering it to whatever influence happens to arrive first. Intention is not just about having a to-do list. It's not waking up and scrolling through your phone to get caught up. That's not direction. That's distraction dressed in urgency. The minute you rise without a mission, You become vulnerable to everyone else's. Your energy is unguarded. Your focus is available for rent, and interference knows it. Interference always finds the unprepared. It's not always loud or destructive. It can be quiet. It can look like an innocent text, a notification, a memory triggered by a song, a message on your feed, someone else's opinion disguised as a suggestion. Suddenly, your energy is off, your clarity is fogged, and before the clock hits 8 a.m., you've already lost the day. Not because you're lazy, but because you were unarmed. Rising with intention isn't motivational fluff. It's mental defense. It's grabbing the controls before your mind starts flying on autopilot through the turbulence of other people's expectations and unresolved emotional clutter. Intention is direction. Without it, you're available to everything. You're open to every request, every detour, every thought that doesn't serve your mission. You become reactive instead of proactive. You spend your morning responding instead of building. You start your day tired, not because you didn't sleep, because your mind has already been hijacked by interference. And here's the thing, interference isn't always negative in appearance. It can come from people who love you. It can come from opportunities that look valuable. It can come from goals that don't even belong to you anymore. When you rise without asking yourself why today matters, you're basically saying, I'll take whatever the world throws at me. And the world throws fast, it throws hard, and it rarely throws with your best interest in mind. The reason most people feel overwhelmed isn't because they're doing too much. It's because they're doing too much that doesn't align. They wake up reacting instead of directing. They move through their mornings checking boxes that were never theirs to check. They entertain people, thoughts, and tasks that have nothing to do with their higher self. That's the cost of rising without intention. You're accessible to anything, so everything shows up. Confusion, drama, fatigue, self-doubt. Distraction, they all start creeping in when you don't declare ownership of your own energy. To rise with intention is to say, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, and this is how I'm going to show up today. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't require a 5-step ritual or a vision board. It requires clarity. It requires decisiveness. It requires that before you answer to the world, you answer to your own purpose. Because when you don't, interference takes over. And interference is relentless. It doesn't ask permission. It floods your peace, it interrupts your clarity, and it will occupy your entire day before you even realize it was never yours to begin with. This is why intention must be non-negotiable. It's not something you do when it's convenient. It's something you do so everything else doesn't become chaotic. It's how you hold the line when your environment wants to cross it. It's how you protect your vision from dilution. Because every day that begins without intention ends in exhaustion. You end up drained not from movement, but from misalignment. And you'll call it a bad day, but really it was just a day without direction. A day that didn't belong to you. A day that was stolen the moment you forgot to guard it with purpose. People closest to you can be the biggest saboteurs of your mission. Not because they're evil, not because they hate you, but because they often can't handle who you're becoming. They've known you a certain way for a long time, comfortable, accessible, predictable. The moment you decide to evolve, the balance shifts. You threaten the version of reality they've accepted, and for some people, that's unbearable. They won't say it out loud. Most won't confront you directly. Sabotage from the inner circle rarely looks like an attack. It looks like concern, sarcasm, subtle jabs, delayed congratulations, and quiet resistance. When you're chasing something bigger, something that demands sacrifice, focus, and discipline, watch the ones who act like you've become too intense, too ambitious, too obsessed. They don't mind your elevation as long as it doesn't rise higher than their comfort. The moment your dedication exposes their lack of it, they shift. Suddenly, you're too busy. Suddenly, you don't come around anymore. Suddenly, your progress becomes a problem. This is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. People closest to you often expect access to your time, your attention, your energy, even when they're no longer aligned with your vision. And here's the harsh reality. Sometimes they were never aligned in the first place. They just liked the version of you that didn't challenge them, the version of you that played it safe, that didn't say no, that tolerated the same cycles, laughed at the same mediocrity, and played small to keep the peace. Growth exposes everything, not just your potential, but their comfort zones. And when people feel exposed, they react. Sabotage can be passive, but its impact is active. It slows your momentum. It gets in your head. It creates emotional noise that clouds your judgment. You start questioning yourself, not because you're wrong, but because they're uncomfortable. Their discomfort isn't your responsibility. Your mission isn't up for negotiation just because someone feels left behind. Growth demands separation, not always physically, but mentally and emotionally. You have to guard your clarity like it's under attack, because often it is. And the most dangerous attacks come from the familiar. You let your guard down because you trust them. But trust doesn't mean blind acceptance. Some of the most damaging influences come from people you love because their opinions matter more and their disapproval cuts deeper. When they question your direction, it shakes you. When they minimize your efforts, it drains you. When they guilt you for setting boundaries, it confuses you. You start thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe you are doing too much. Maybe slowing down would make things easier. That's the trap. That's the sabotage, not through weapons, but through whispers. Through comments like, don't forget where you came from, or I like the old you better. The old you is more manageable. The old you made them feel superior or safe or seen. But the old you had to die for the new you to live. And now that you're building something stronger, clearer, and more disciplined, they're scrambling to make sense of it. Not everyone will clap when you break out of the cage they're still sitting in. And sometimes the louder the silence gets, the more you know you're on the right path. You can love people and still create distance. You can respect the bond without staying shackled to it. Loyalty doesn't mean sacrifice of self. Support doesn't mean silence when someone poisons your purpose. You don't need to argue with them. You don't need to prove your direction is worthy. You just need to keep moving. Keep showing up. Keep flying your mission with ruthless clarity. The right people will adjust. The wrong ones will fall off. Either way, you'll be lighter. Either way, you'll be closer to your purpose. Because anyone who truly supports you won't need you to shrink so they can feel comfortable in your presence. Excuses multiply in comfort zones. Destroy both daily. The comfort zone is not a sanctuary, it's a breeding ground. It cultivates softness disguised as self-care, delay disguised as strategy, and fear disguised as logic. It convinces you that stillness is safety and that ambition is aggression. The comfort zone feeds on repetition, on routines that no longer serve your higher self. On the familiar patterns that feel like home but act like prison walls. It whispers that you've done enough, that you're fine where you are, that the fire inside you can wait. But it never tells you the cost of waiting. It never tells you that every day you linger there, the muscle of discipline atrophies, the edge of your vision dulls, and the volume of your excuses gets louder. Excuses don't need truth to survive. They only need space. They grow in the pauses between decisions, in the silence of inaction. In the hours wasted convincing yourself you'll start tomorrow, they evolve the longer they go unchecked. What begins as a simple delay soon morphs into an identity. You start telling yourself you're not a morning person. You start believing you're not cut out for leadership, for change, for impact. It's not that you're incapable. It's that you've let comfort write the script. And comfort is the worst ghostwriter because it erases every chapter that could have made you legendary. Comfort doesn't come for your destruction all at once. It's slow, patient, insidious. It settles into your habits, wraps itself around your language, reprograms your goals into wishes, and your plans into excuses. You start making decisions based on ease instead of excellence. You negotiate with discipline. You reason with fear. You rationalize avoidance. And all the while, your excuses pile up like wreckage you can't see until it's too late. You wake up wondering how so much time passed, why you feel empty despite being busy, and how you got so far from the version of you that once dared to believe. The comfort zone is a seductive enemy. It doesn't use force, it uses familiarity. It reminds you of how good it feels to rest, to avoid risk, to stay unnoticed. It gives you 1,000 reasons not to push forward. And with every reason accepted, a new excuse is born. You start blaming time, blaming circumstances, blaming other people. You call it burnout or bad luck or not the right season. But underneath it all, it's just unchallenged comfort growing roots into every corner of your mind. To destroy excuses, you have to first destroy the environment that feeds them. That means doing the things you don't feel like doing. That means challenging your patterns, attacking your own complacency, and waking up every day with a willingness to disrupt your default settings. You have to make discomfort your compass, not pain for the sake of pain, but pressure for the sake of progress. You can't evolve without resistance. You can't strengthen without friction. You can't lead if you're still hiding in habits that keep you small. Excuses die in the presence of clarity. You have non-negotiable goals of routines that don't wait for motivation to appear. You can't wait until you're ready, because ready is a luxury that comfort zones never deliver. You have to act like your mission matters more than your mood, more than your fear, more than your fatigue, because it does. And if you don't, someone else's agenda will hijack your energy. And you'll spend your life fulfilling obligations instead of executing vision. Daily destruction of excuses requires intentional discomfort. You have to set traps for your own laziness. You have to anticipate the voice that tells you to slow down, to wait, to relax, and interrupt it with action. Discipline must be louder than doubt. Focus must be stronger than fear. And your standards must be higher than your circumstances. Every day you step into resistance is a day you declare war on the limitations that once defined you. And every excuse you silence is a weapon dropped by the version of you that was never meant to lead you. Some friends love your wounds because they validate their own. They don't celebrate your healing. They celebrate your hurting because it keeps them from facing theirs. As long as you're broken, they don't have to rise. As long as you're limping, they don't have to run. Misery doesn't just love company. It needs it. Some people can't stand the thought of you outgrowing the pain they've made peace with. They've built their identity around wounds, around betrayal, around failure. And as long as you sit in your struggle, they feel less alone in theirs. You'll notice it in subtle ways. When you're venting, they're present. When you're crying, they're available. But when you start changing, when your vocabulary shifts from complaining to accountability, when your eyes light up with possibility, they get uncomfortable. They don't clap when you heal. They get quiet. Suddenly, they say things like, "You've changed," as if it's a crime to grow. They liked you better when you were relatable through pain, because your wounds made their stagnation feel acceptable. You mirrored their survival, not their potential. But the moment you shift toward elevation, you become a threat, not a friend. Not because you've hurt them, because you've outgrown the version of yourself that made them feel safe. There are people in your life who aren't attached to you. They're attached to your dysfunction. They built a connection with your weakness, not your strength. They were loyal to your lowest moments, not because they loved you, but because it gave them a sense of purpose, control, or superiority. Some people don't want to see you whole because broken people are easier to manage. There's no challenge in sitting beside someone who's bleeding. There's power in it. It feeds their savior complex. But when the bandages come off and you start standing on your own, they don't know what to do with you anymore. Your strength confronts their excuses. Your healing shatters their justifications. Your movement exposes their paralysis. It's difficult to accept you. But not everyone who helped you survive wants to see you thrive. Some friends are season specific. They were meant to walk with you through the valley, not climb the mountain with you. They know how to comfort, not how to build. They know how to listen to pain, but not how to cheer for progress. And when you start shedding your victim skin and stepping into responsibility, their energy shifts. You feel it. You sense the tension when you share a win. You notice the fake enthusiasm when you talk about your growth. You hear the subtle jabs, the passive-aggressive comments, the sarcasm masked as humor. Your healing creates friction, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're breaking a silent agreement that was never spoken out loud. The agreement that you'd stay in the same story. The agreement that you'd keep bleeding together, that you'd keep validating each other's wounds instead of helping each other rise. And when you rewrite that script, some people will see it as betrayal, not because you've betrayed them, but because they betrayed themselves long ago, and now they're watching you do what they were afraid to try. You can't shrink your healing to make other people comfortable. You can't dull your transformation because someone else is allergic to growth. Your responsibility is to your highest self, not to the version of you that made others feel better about staying small. Healing is not just about getting better. It's about setting boundaries. It's about walking away from anyone who only knew how to love the broken you, but resents the powerful you. You owe no one your wounds. You don't have to carry your past just to make someone else feel less guilty about never confronting theirs. The real ones will rise with you. The rest were just comfortable sitting in shared pain disguised as friendship. Family isn't immunity. Blood can be a burden when growth is the goal. The word family carries weight. It's loaded with expectations, unspoken contracts, and invisible rules about loyalty and sacrifice. But too often, that loyalty becomes a leash. Growth demands space, evolution demands boundaries. And sometimes the very people who share your name are the ones anchoring your potential. There's a myth that blood entitles someone to permanent access to your energy, your time, and your decisions. But when growth becomes your mission, access has to be earned, not inherited. You can love your family and still outgrow their patterns. You can be grateful for where you came from and still know that where you're going demands something different. Some families are not built on alignment. They're built on tradition, routine, and repetition. They expect you to inherit behaviors, beliefs, and limitations that don't serve your future. And the moment you challenge those inherited patterns, you're seen as rebellious, arrogant, ungrateful. But you're not ungrateful, you're awake, you're aware. And that awareness can make you the outcast. Growth disrupts the family dynamic. It breaks generational cycles. It questions the status quo. And that questioning often threatens those who have found comfort in dysfunction. There are parents who expect your obedience long after you've grown. Siblings who compete with your progress instead of celebrating it. Relatives who only reach out when they need something, who weaponize guilt, who keep you small with backhanded compliments and dismissive attitudes, not because they hate you, but because they haven't healed. And your healing reminds them of everything they haven't faced. Your success isn't the issue, it's the mirror it holds up, the reflection that shows what they've ignored, what they've avoided, and what they've settled for. Family can become the first wall you have to climb to reach your freedom, not all of them. But often the ones who had the most influence in shaping your early beliefs are the same ones who resist the most when you begin rewriting your story. You'll hear things like, "Don't forget where you came from," or "You think you're better than us now." These statements aren't about you. They're about their fear of being left behind. Their discomfort with transformation, their confusion about a version of you they no longer recognize, but you weren't born to be recognized by who you used to be. You were born to rise, even if it means rising alone. Some of the hardest boundaries to set are the ones that cross bloodlines. You feel guilty for needing space. You feel conflicted for not answering every call. You question your decisions because the programming runs deep. Family comes first is a phrase drilled into the subconscious, but growth demands a different kind of hierarchy. Your purpose must come first. Your peace must come first. Your clarity, your standards, your emotional safety, they aren't luxuries, they're necessities. And if someone, even family, threatens them consistently, they become a liability to your future. The people who love you will adjust to your evolution. They may not understand it at first, but they won't punish you for it. But the people who try to keep you tied to a version of yourself that no longer fits aren't protecting you, they're protecting their comfort. And your growth has no obligation to make others comfortable. You're not betraying your roots by climbing higher. You're honoring your potential. There's a difference between tradition and limitation. One grounds you. The other cages you. And growth will always demand that you know the difference. Breaking away doesn't mean breaking ties forever. It means creating space to breathe, to become, to break patterns that generations may have silently suffered through. It means being bold enough to say, "I love you, but I won't live like you." It means recognizing that love without respect is not a reason to stay small, and that blood alone isn't a free pass to your future. When you're building something rare, something honorable, disciplined, you must protect it from anything that weakens it. Even if that threat shares your last name, real allies challenge your excuses. Demons enable them. The difference between the people who push you and the ones who poison you often lies in how they respond to your limitations. Real allies won't sit in the mud with you and let you believe it's home. They won't nod their heads when you justify procrastination, avoidance, fear, or apathy. They hear your excuses, but they don't accept them. They love you too much to let you stay stuck. They hold a mirror to your comfort and ask the uncomfortable questions. Not to criticize you, but to call you higher. They aren't impressed by your potential because they know it's only real when you act on it. Real allies will sit beside you in pain, but they won't let you build a house there. They'll give you space to feel, but they'll also hold you accountable to move forward. Demons, on the other hand, operate in shadows. They don't scream, they whisper. They speak in agreement when they should speak in truth. They validate your laziness by calling it self-care. They defend your indecision by calling it caution. They nod while you spiral. You offer comfort while you sink and hand you permission slips to stay small. Demons don't always come wearing horns. Sometimes they come with good intentions and soft voices. Sometimes they look like friends who just want you to be happy, even if your version of happy is built on excuses, delusion, and fear. Their approval feels warm in the moment, but slowly erodes your self-respect. They'll listen to your reasons for quitting and offer you more. They'll remind you of your past failures and cloak it in concern. They don't challenge you because your weakness makes them feel less alone in theirs. You will know your allies by the way they respond to your limitations. Real ones don't coddle you when you lie to yourself. They confront you, sometimes harshly. Sometimes with silence that stings more than words. They refuse to let your story end where you are. They won't let you drown in your own doubt. They'll push you toward the very things you're scared of. They'll call out the difference between pain and self-pity, between rest and avoidance, between boundaries and walls. They won't let you confuse healing with hiding. Their presence forces you to level up because anything less feels out of alignment. Demons are comfortable in your stagnation. They benefit from your excuses. Your inability to rise justifies their own inertia. They'll never tell you to go harder because your drive makes them uncomfortable. They'll never tell you to stop complaining because your victimhood helps them nurture theirs. They want you manageable, predictable, relatable. They fear your evolution because it highlights their choice not to change. And they'll sabotage your growth not with insults, but with support that paralyzes. Support that sounds sweet, but serves as a sedative. They know how to soothe your doubt without killing it. They'll stand by you while you destroy yourself slowly, applauding every excuse you make along the way. The people you surround yourself with either sharpen your discipline or dull it. They either call out your greatness or help you bury it. When you share your excuses, pay attention to who questions them. Pay attention to who makes you uncomfortable in the best way. Those are your allies. They're the ones who see beyond your temporary emotions and into your permanent purpose. They speak to your higher self, not the version of you trying to survive the day. They don't feed your fears, They ignite your fire. They don't rescue you from discomfort. They remind you why it's necessary. Demons don't come to destroy you in one blow. They come to delay you in small, consistent ways. They come with just enough empathy to make your weakness feel justified. They come with just enough care to make your comfort zone feel safe. But real allies, they come to elevate. They challenge your patterns. They refuse to accept less than your potential. They'll walk with you, but they won't walk backward. And they'll remind you that every excuse you cling to is a chain keeping you from becoming who you were born to be.